rehabilitated, and real entertaining. This is the Carl Jackson Podcast.
We're going to be debunking Bidenomics today. Lie number one, the unemployment rate is lower under Biden, and his economic policies have created 13 million new jobs. No, as a matter of fact, people are still returning to the job force after they were laid off during COVID. Lie number two, Biden's economy is strong. Well, not true. 66% of Americans disagree with that. Lie number three, Biden claims that gas prices are down from $5 a gallon. The truth is gas prices are still higher than they were under Trump. All right, lie number four, consumer spending is up. Well, that's only true because more people are using credit cards to pay their bills. Lie number five, the hidden tax of more rules and regulations. You got a $2,000 a year annual raise under Trump with deregulation. You get a $5,000 pay cut under Biden. Lie number six, the nation's debt and annual deficit spending is down under Biden. The truth is the national debt has gone up $6 trillion under Biden's administration. Lie number seven, we've seen economic growth under the Biden administration when the last 5 quarters economic growth have been down. All this and more on this edition of the Carl Jackson Show podcast. Stay tuned for some quick program messaging, and we'll be right back. All right, welcome to today's edition of the Carl Jackson Show podcast. This is your daily dose of objective truth in a world of confusion and lies. I hope you had an excellent Independence Day yesterday. I hope you got time to celebrate not only this nation's founding or celebrate our independence, but I hope you got to do that with some family, friends, and I hope you got to see some fireworks and eat some good food as well. We actually put up our flag yesterday. I'm so happy about that because that was a chore. That was a chore. Anyway, but it is up, and we're keeping it up. As a matter of fact, I got to make sure next year we have it up for all Pride Month. It should be American Pride Month. We need to replace that. All right. I want to give you a couple of news stories and news headlines, and then I want to get into or delve into what's true and what's not true about Bidenomics, because Biden wants you to think, and the Biden administration wants you to believe that the economy is better and it's doing swimmingly under the Biden administration. They want you to believe that the Biden administration inherited some type of bad economy under Trump. And the truth is, there is a level of truth to that, right? So obviously, we had an amazing economy under Trump, and then COVID hits. Sadly, Trump, duped by Fauci and Deborah Birx, he locks down the economy. A very bad move, no doubt on his part, but his heart was in the right place. But the economy, so the economy tanked. We spent a buttload of money giving out people money and stuff like that, since we told people to shut down their businesses, or since the federal government did. Inflation rose. It was sad, but the economy started to come back. We were on the uptick, but the Biden administration comes in, even though we were moving past COVID, and they decide to shut down the economy again. They decide to lock states down. It was absolutely horrible. You guys might remember that. So anyway, we'll get into some of the news of the day, and we'll debunk Bidenomics. I gave you the short at the beginning of the podcast, but we'll go into detail in each one of those so you'll know how to fight back when the left lies and tries to tell you that you're spending less and the economy is in a good state, which it is completely not. We're in a recession, and the sad thing is we have a media that will not tell you the truth. It isn't time to panic, but it is time to make sure you get as much debt paid off as you can, save as much as you can. And I would encourage you to stock up on food supplies. Nothing crazy, just food supplies. Have a little bit of extra in case you get, in case times get even worse. Maybe have a little cash on the side. I think that would be a good thing for everybody. Guys, today's show is brought to you by MyPillow.com. Mike Lindell, the fabulous patriot at MyPillow. He provides American jobs, American manufacturing. All of his products come with a 10-year warranty and a 60-day money-back guarantee. If you use my name, you can get up to it, and honestly, over 60%. Reduction on some of the prices, but I want to talk to you specifically about the new MyPillow 2.0. The new MyPillow 2.0, it comes with the same patented adjustable feel as the original MyPillow, so you still have that level of comfort, but Mike Lindell has invented this temperature regulating thread that makes the pillow softer, smoother, and cooler, and that thread, by the way, is made in the USA as well. So you got a good night's rest before it, you'll get an even better night's rest with the new My Pillow 2.0. And that's not even the whole story. Listen, buy one, get one free. That's right. You can get 2 pillows for the price of one. All you have to do is go to mypillow.com, click on the radio listener square at the top of the page, and enter my name, Carl, C-A-R-L. All right, mypillow.com, enter my name, Carl, C-A-R-L. Or if you prefer, you can give them a call, 800-858-0263. Again, that number, 1-800-858-0263. Mention my name and you will get your buy one, get one free offer. Not only that, but you're going to be participating in American jobs, American manufacturing, and that's what we need to see more of. All right, so let me just give you a few headlines and then we'll debunk Bidenomics real quick here. All right, so you guys may have heard the news. You guys may have heard the news over the weekend. Somebody left some cocaine. Somebody left some cocaine in the White House. All right. So the hazmat team came in. Someone discovered white powder in the White House. A hazmat team comes into the White House and they find out, okay, it's not anthrax like many people thought. After testing it, they found out that it's cocaine. Now, from what I understand, the White House, of course, didn't want this word to get out, but people were panicking, thinking it was anthrax, and rightfully so. But come to find out, no, it's cocaine. And what's the news? Hunter Biden had recently left the White House. Oh, it's insane. But I wouldn't doubt that there's more than one person, let's say, using cocaine in the White House. I don't know who, right? I'm obviously speculating, but I have no doubt in my mind that Hunter Biden, he was a crack addict, doing drugs. We've seen, pictures, all this kind of stuff. I don't think any of that has changed. This guy has been enabled by his dad for probably his entire life. And so I don't think the addiction will change with that. Maybe there's times where he's sober, in my opinion, for the sake of whether he's going to a court hearing or something of that effect. But there's no doubt in my mind that that guy continues to use simply because he hasn't paid the consequences. He hasn't paid the consequences for not using, quite frankly. All right. So that's just something to be aware of. Now, there are other items in the news that I would like to share with you quickly here. The first story is, and you guys may have heard this over the weekend, but the first story is American Pride nears a record low. Now, listen, American Pride was down 38 to 38% last year. This year, it's up 39%. I know that's depressing, but we're on the uptick. And here's what I believe, guys. I do believe that we're going to get through this period of time where there's so much hatred for one's own country. It's absolutely insane. But we're going to have to defeat these leftists, these Marxists. We're going to have to defeat them at the ballot box. We're going to have to defeat them in the culture, and that includes church. We're going to have to defeat them there. We're going to have to get back to the basics, faith, family, country. We're going to have to start preaching this stuff. We're going to have to start teaching this stuff. And some of the best places to do it is obviously in church. So make sure, right? That your church connects the dots, if you will. All right, connects the dots. And what I mean by that, Christ and culture. I do believe a lot of churches don't do a great job of that. Perhaps this is something you can talk to your pastor about if he does not do that, because that needs to happen. A lot of times we talk about biblical precepts. We talk about the love and salvation, of Jesus Christ, but we don't connect the dots to the culture, and that has to be done. And honestly, more people are starting to wake up to woke, if you will. We talked about this. We talked about this last week. Or was that this week? Maybe it was Monday, but we talked about that. More people are starting to wake up to woke. So I think this is going to be on the uptick. Don't be ashamed to be an American. All right, it's that simple, and teach it to your kids. Another thing that is in the news today is Dr. Rochelle Walensky cautions against politicized science, even though she's a main driver of politicized science. So you guys know Dr. Rochelle Walensky. She is the former head of the CDC now. She sent out a warning for the American people, and she said, be on guard against misinformation and the politicization of science. This is a clear CYA move. This lady is despicable. This lady is disgusting. She continued to lie about the effects of the jab and the pandemic in and of itself, knowing all along that the jabs were not working. She knew this from the get go. We have evidence that she did. So the only misinformation that she's spewing is her own misinformation. It goes on to say, she said again, be on guard against the politicization of science, which she did, which she's guilty of. In one of her final interviews as head of the CDC and prevention, Walensky said that she wants Americans to make health decisions based on, quote, their own risk assessment and their own personal risk, but not through politics. She said political partisanship has in many ways defined Walensky's tenure as CDC director. People on the right were more likely to push back against the agency's pandemic guidance on quarantines, distancing, and masking compared with those on the left, while Democrats were more likely to be vaccinated than Republicans. All right. The other thing, number 5, is this. Democrats renew their action to pack the Supreme Court. This is what all the outrage is about, guys. Last week, when the Supreme Court on Friday issued out, or Thursday and Friday issued out, some of these major decisions that rejected racism on college campuses, that supported Christians' free speech rights, and told spoiled brats that we're not going to pay for your student loan debt, which you chose. That was a very good thing for the country, and the left doesn't want anything like that. They want to pack the Supreme Court, make sure that they get their way on the Supreme Court. That's all that's about. The 5th thing I want to talk to you about, the judge blocks the Biden administration. This is very important. I hate judges having this much power, but they do. So the judge blocks the Biden administration from working with social media companies to censor content, because that's what happened by and large in the 2020 election. That's why no one knows about, or no one knew, or not enough people knew, anyway, if you weren't on the right, about the Hunter Biden laptop. All right. So that is very good news. A judge prohibited several federal agencies and officials of the Biden administration from working with social media companies about, quote unquote, protected speech. I love this. A decision that's called, quote, a blow to censorship by one of the Republican officials whose lawsuit prompted the ruling. U.S. District Judge Terry Doughty of Louisiana granted the injunction in response to a 2022 lawsuit brought by attorneys general in Louisiana and Missouri. All right, so that's good news. All right, those are your Jackson's 5 for the day. Now, let's get on to Bidenomics. Let's debunk Bidenomics very quickly here. All right, first off, the first slide. The Biden administration wants you to believe that the economy is going swell, right? Because it's the economy, stupid. If Trump or another candidate, but likely it's going to be Trump at this point, can convince the people that the economy is actually bad, and people feel this already. People see this, people feel this, but the Biden administration has to lie and pretend like, no, the economy is fine. You know, he's got the news media that has his back. They're not reporting the scandals. They're not reporting about the foreign policies, debacles, and disasters that are occurring under the Biden administration. So the media is going to continue to run cover for him, sadly, leading all the way up to this. But here's what we know. All right, so Biden is lying when it comes to Bidenomics. All right, the lie number 1 that we talked about on the short, the unemployment rate is low under Biden, and his economic policies have created 13 million new jobs. The truth is, people are still returning to the workforce after the COVID lockdowns. The COVID lockdowns that were absolutely draconian, right? People weren't allowed to go to work, had to social distance, so on, etc. Many businesses shut down as a result of that. The economy is slowly but surely returning, but sadly, it's not because we're creating new jobs. It's mostly because people in blue states are returning to work. Red states have been up and running for quite some time, the vast majority of them, and we've been doing fine. I live in Florida under Governor Ron DeSantis. It's been amazing. I don't care what Republicans, even Trump, try to say it was bad. It wasn't. I love Trump, but that's just laughable. Governor Ron DeSantis did amazing under here in Florida. Lie number 2, Biden's economy is strong. Well, listen, 66% of Americans instinctively know, and they can check their bank records, they can check their spending, and they know that the economy isn't strong. And 66% of Americans say that we are headed in the wrong direction. In the last 22 out of 25 months, inflation has outpaced wages. Carl, what does that mean? All right, so the White House is touting this rise of nominal hourly earnings. Hat tip to Stephen Moore, who wrote Bidenomics is a big bust. But he says the White House is touting the rise of nominal hourly earnings, which are wages before inflation. All right, so people were starting to get higher wages before Bidenomics, before Bidenflation hit, right? People were starting to get wages. And frankly, if we're being honest, some Trumpflation when he doled out a lot of money to people during the COVID thing. But that was, we shut the economy down. So there's a big difference. Again, the economy was starting to swing back even under Trump. If he would have won his second term, there's no doubt in my mind that the economy would be booming yet again. And we would be doing more than just adding old people back to the job force. But in 22 out of 25 months, here's what's happening. You made more money, or you're making more money. Your salary is higher. Your hourly earnings are higher. The problem is with inflation, it doesn't feel like it. Even though you're earning, on average, more Americans are earning up to $3 more an hour right now. It feels like you're actually earning $1 less per hour than you were making in the Trump era, simply because inflation is too high. So your inflation is outpacing your hourly earnings. That was lie number 2. Lie number 3, Biden claims that gas prices are down $5 a gallon from this time last year. But here's the trick. Gas prices only went up to $5 because this fool, Biden, literally cut off drilling. I mean, he's had this war on fossil fuel. Remember, at the beginning of his presidency, he canceled the Keystone XL pipeline. He let it be known that he was waging a war on fossil fuels. They didn't issue any new permits on federal lands for these oil companies to be able to drill. So oil companies had to go and scamper and find oil in places that they already had it available. And so the only reason gas is semi-low is because they've been digging like crazy in places that were already available to them. But gas is still, on average, 80 cents higher around the country than it was under the Trump administration. So gas only went up to $5 a gallon because of Biden. But even still, with gas prices decreasing because of, thank God for these oil companies, right? I know you guys, I know a lot of these lefties pretend like they hate them, but everything they wear and use has some type of petroleum base for the most part in them. So they're a bunch of frauds and phonies, and they may not even realize it. But the bottom line is, gas, $5 a gallon, it hit its peak. We're still higher than we were on average during Trump's administration. So this is a big lie. Lie number 4. I think this is one of the biggest and most insidious lies of them all. Let me take a swig real quick here. One of the biggest and most insidious lies of them all is that consumer spending is up. So one of the ways in which you rate the economy is, okay, consumers are feeling very confident about the economy because they're spending. That's a big lie. All right. There's a trick to this as well. There's a scam to this. The reason why more Americans are spending, it isn't because they have money. It is the exact opposite. More Americans are starting to use their credit card in order to pay their bills. So you might be alone. You might be thinking, man, how are everybody doing okay and we're not? The truth is, not everyone is doing okay. Again, 66% of Americans believe the economy is worse off than it was. So more people are using their credit cards, and that will count as consumer spending, but they're using their credit cards to keep up with their bills because they can no longer keep up with their bills because inflation is too high. Lie number 5. The hidden tax of rules and regulations. I mean, just think of what we're suffering through because Biden has this war on fossil fuels, right? And we have to pay for the Green New Deal hoax so politicians can get richer while at the same time they scare you they scare you and gain more control of you, because once they scare you and say, oh my God, the sky is falling, and you say, Uncle Sam, please help us. And people like Biden and the government say, yes, we'll help you. We'll get rich off of creating these new regulations. Meanwhile, it's going to cost you, the taxpayer, you, the worker, you, the everyday American, more money. So under the Biden administration, our regulatory costs have skyrocketed so much that it feels like you're paying an additional. This is a tax on the poor. This is a tax on the middle class. This is a tax on everybody. You feel like you're paying $5,000 more per year in taxes because of regulation. This is why you don't want big government. Government rules, government regulations, all it does is circumvent the will of the people and destroys freedom. Under Trump, he deregulated so much that you got a $2,000 annual raise, right? Like gas prices being much lower. Lie number 6, the nation's debt and annual deficit spending is down under Biden. That's not true. This guy says he cut the annual deficit or the deficit and the debt. A lot of people don't realize that the deficit is what the government budgets for or spends annually. Okay. So when they say deficit, that's annually. When they say debt, that is the total amount. So we're nearing $32 trillion in debt. But the truth is the annual deficit has gone up too. We've been spending, since Biden has gotten into the White House, approximately $2 trillion more every year, borrowing and spending $2 trillion more. So the debt, the total number, is up $6 trillion since Biden has gotten into office. And it's hard to fathom that number. I wanted to try to offer you guys a breakdown, but last I looked, basically, most Americans now owe the government, because of Biden's borrowing, approximately somewhere between $140,000 to $150,000 more per working person in taxes because of the spending. It was some insane number. I might be off a little bit, but if I recall correctly, it's a really insane number. So that just puts it into perspective. Lie number 7. And this is the final lie of debunking Bidenomics. All right, he says we've seen a major economic growth under the Biden administration. This is also a lie. So over the past 4 quarters, a quarter is 3 months, as you know, we've experienced only 1% growth. That is extremely anemic. And that's even with people returning to the workforce. So 1/3 the rate that we should be experiencing post-COVID. That's 1/3 the rate that we should be experiencing post-COVID. In other words, we should have a booming economy right now, but we've gone back to the Obama era when job growth was slow. And again, we're still recovering from COVID, at least in these blue states. So it is a complete and utter lie. At the very best, the economy is anemic. Economic growth is anemic, where we are crawling at only 1%. This guy is just full of complete and utter lies. So that's our edition of today's Carl Jackson Show podcast. We have just debunked the 7 lies of Bidenomics. Guys, I appreciate you tuning in. Please don't forget, subscribe to the podcast wherever you go to get your podcast. We're on Apple, Google, Spotify. Subscribe wherever you go. YouTube and Rumble. Please subscribe there, rate and review. Give us the highest number possible. That'll help us. Go to the top of the charts, so to speak. It'll help more people find us. We really appreciate that. On all things social media, at The Carl Jackson Show is where you can find us, at The Carl Jackson Show. We're on Instagram. We're on Twitter. We're on Facebook. Where else? True Social Getter. Wherever we are, that you are, at The Carl Jackson Show. Guys, I appreciate you tuning in to today's edition of the Carl Jackson Show podcast. And until next time, don't grow weary doing good. God bless you.